if you build it, they will come is not true about a lot of things in life, and it's especially not true about a digital product launch, a service launch, or a small business website launch. You have got to give them a reason to come, a reason to care, and that's one thing I am passionate about teaching creative small business owners. I've got 2 examples of this lately. Becca, a mom of 3, she left her job in nursing and was prepping to launch her own business when she sent me this text. I also have Ezza. He chimed in a recent call inside my paid membership, the Copywriting Collective. He said, I'm ready. I have this relationship course. I have performed it 14 times. I've tested it. Now I want to build my audience and launch it. Can you tell me how to do that? You're in luck, Ezza, as is anyone that is launching something in the next year. Give me a thumbs up if that's you, and it probably is. You need to be promoting. That's what a launch is. A launch is a sexy word for a marketing campaign. You need to be doing this in your business. At some point, you need to hold the mic up and tell us what you do and how you can help us. So in this video, I am going to tell you 5 different ways that you can build your audience before a launch. Spoiler, I'm a long game girly. I'm going to share with you what is working for building an email list now, but what has helped me over the years. So these are 5 things that are not a flash in a pan thing. Stay tuned until the end. I'm going to talk to you about how I prep my blog content to be a little evergreen tree working for me for years. I want you to have a never-ending investment strategy with your content. I am all about sustainable marketing over here, no matter what privacy updates are doing or what social media algorithm is working today. This is a little snippet of what I teach inside Prime to Launch, content for creatives. But while I'm talking about this, go ahead and look down below and grab a freebie. It's a launch copy and content checklist that's going to give you the ultimate stack of everything you need to have written and have messaging for before you put your launch out there. Hello there, if we've not yet met. I'm Ashlyn Carter. I'm a conversion copywriter and brand and launch strategist for creatives like you. Figuring out what to say and how to say it, that should not hold you back from making sales as a small business owner, which is kind of hard right now. You gotta get in there and you gotta get a little bit scrappy. So let's get straight into these tips. Number 1, organic social media. You knew I was gonna say this one, right? Here I'm talking about predominantly the Meta family. But again, like I said, I don't want you to worry so much about the name of the platform as much as the concept that I'm telling you about. So here I'm talking about organic traffic. And listen, I love ads, I love paid traffic, but click like if you've ever complained about organic traffic or your normal posts just don't get any reach. There's some fairness in that. It is a pay-to-play world, but here's the big thing. Sometimes the issue is us. Sometimes we're doing the same tired strategies or the same things that worked 6 months ago or a year ago, and it's not working now. I need to be able to call an audible on the old way of doing things and be nimble when it comes to organic. Here's the big takeaway I want for you to have in this first bucket of traffic. Play to the neighborhood that the platform is pushing at the time. This was a light bulb moment for me. It was at Social Media Marketing World a couple of years ago. Sue B. Zimmerman was the educator I heard use this word neighborhood. She was referring to Instagram, for example, and saying they had different neighborhoods. There's the basic feed, there's stories, there's reels, there's direct messages, there's all these little mini products inside the big product of Instagram. That's the same on every platform. Look at how YouTube has rolled out shorts, even TikTok is switching things up like that. So here's your tip. As you're pushing out your opt-ins to get them to people, and I'll talk about that in a minute, be sure to play to the favorite child. So when you're looking at your social media platforms, when it comes to doubling down on your investment of time on those platforms, don't try to do everything, just focus really hard on what that platform's favorite child is. Let's do a quick example. Let's say that Facebook is one of the tools that I'm going to use in my social media toolbox to grow my list. I already have an audience over there. I need to not negate it for a launch, but instead of just spray and pray approaching, I want to use it well. So it seems like live videos are still doing well. They are a favorite child of the platform. A BuzzSumo report found that in 777 million Facebook posts, it was lives that dominated all other types of content. And we can also learn from just quickly studying it. The averages for these lives are about 3 to 4 minutes long. I can do 3 to 4 minutes. Can you talk for 3 to 4 minutes about something you're passionate about? Okay, so if I were going into a launch season, I would plan about 6-ish weeks of content, and to disseminate those and get them out, I would go live on Facebook for those 6 weeks. I'm not gonna try to do all the things on every single social media platform, but I'm gonna double down on the favorite child, on the places where I do have an audience or the places where my audience is. I said this to my audience inside the Copywriting Collective last week, but I want you to think about your freebies or your lead magnets as your bait. So that's all the different types of little fish that you have on your boat that you're going fishing. I was trying to think of all the different types of bait my dad has when he goes fishing, but you know how you would have live worms and those fake jiggly sparkly worms and maybe some little fish. That's your lead magnets. You've got different types of lead magnets and opt-ins, but your vehicle to get out to the fish is your content, and that's what I'm talking about in this video. Got to get to your audience, and one way that you can get that boat out to sea is this number one, organic traffic that doubles down on the favorite child of the moment on the platform. Number two, Pinterest. This falls under the bucket of search, and it is so important. I'm going to talk about search in another one of these tips. Here's how I implement this. I talk all about your hero piece of content inside Prime to Launch. And when you're going to take that and you're going to spider web it out across the internet, one big place where we see a lot of leads come in is through Pinterest. I'm taking that pillar piece of content and I'm making, well, Vanessa is making multiple different pins for it. One hot tip here that I could do a better job at. I would love to create an infographic style image for every piece of pillar content I come out with. Those do great on Pinterest. Again, if we're looking at the favorite child, infographics are going to do well on Pinterest, and stories do well there too. So how can I take my pillar piece of content and disseminate it on that platform in a way that's doing well? Here's a little bonus tip for those of you that are inside Prime to Launch. You know how I teach you about the three-peat opt-in strategy? Make sure that you're creating pins for your 3 types of opt-ins as well. I talked about in a recent video where we kind of went behind the scenes and I talked to you about what worked well and what didn't inside our big launch this year of Copywriting for Creatives. We went hard this year on UTMs and being able to track where did leads come from, where did sales come from. If you're interested in this, you could absolutely get started by setting up a dashboard inside your Google Analytics and set up what's called in Google Analytics goals. Let me flip the camera around too and show you a little bit of a UTM tracker so you can see how we would monitor, again, where different leads are coming from. Welcome to a little view inside our UTM tracker. This was built for us by Jennifer Grayeb. Highly recommend working with somebody to build something like this out. But as you'll see when I get into, if you know enough to be dangerous inside sheets or spreadsheets, you can do this yourself. So over here we have where our traffic could come from. You'll probably understand it more in, let's go to Pinterest, because I just mentioned Pinterest. So what we're going to do is track. I would come down here and I would add in the URL to my newest blog that I have. Then I'm going to just go through, I can copy these, but I'm going to select based on that previous spreadsheet I just showed you, everywhere where this traffic is going to come from. The campaign, so I'm talking about in here the blueprint model. So that's what I'm driving to and trying to sell to in this. And then I'll include a little bit more language here to drill down on what exactly this pin is. And what you're going to see is it will add all this crazy, all these letters and numbers. It looks like this is a UTM code that will go on the back end of the URL. So then I can understand where my traffic is coming from down to the pin that's driving there. Also, major pro tip, just in case you needed to hear this, I did not use UTM trackers and measure where all my leads were coming from my first, second, third, fourth, maybe even 5th or 6th launch. These things take time, and that's okay. Launching is a long game strategy. Okay, number 3, ads. It is no secret we have seen social media splinter from an iOS updates and privacy updates in the past year. For this reason and some others, we're going to see ads continue to be pretty expensive. The internet is not the ATM machine that it was, and that's okay, but it's still a great strategy to build your list. When it comes to ad copy itself, I have a whole video, I'll link it down below, where you can see a little bit more about how I write ads. But here's the big kicker that I want you to take away from this point 3. A member inside the Copy Bar Collective asked me where I spend the most inside a launch, and it's here. It's in the pre-launch stage. It's in the list building. I've tried to give really good evergreen content in this video. This tip right here is going to be not evergreen, so this could change 6 months from now, but I would at least be prepared to spend $1,000 per lead magnet that you have and you want to test. You want to see if you can get some leads from it. You know how it's harder to get on page 1 of Google than it originally was? It's just going to cost a little bit more in the ad market to win a bid. It is still possible though. One of my favorite resources is Adrienne Richardson. If you want to give yourself some tough love on ads, go watch and learn from her. She's the queen of taking ads that people are like, this is not working for me, and she'll flip it on its head and show you that maybe it was you. One big thing I want to make sure I talk about when it comes to ads, I personally don't like to invest a lot when I'm not sure something's gonna work. Once I get some things in place and I see this is a working funnel, baby, this is profitable, this works, the conversion rates are hitting all those benchmarks like I have inside Prime to Launch, then I wanna throw some money at it and play a little bit more, because to me, it feels more like investing. I understand when I pay, I'm gonna get money back. I feel like spending ads when you don't know all of that is a little more akin to gambling, which I stink at. I always have bad luck. So there's one more pro tip. Couple that with the other tip I told you about ads. I'm gonna spend the lion's share of my ads budget in those 6 to 8 weeks before launch. I don't see that changing in 2023. I think that's still gonna be my practice. I keep saying one more tip. Here's one more. This one's really good. Don't be afraid to build your list by running 2 small offers, running big discounts. I would rather have a list, and I learned this over and over the longer I'm in business. I'd rather have a list of customers than a list full of just leads. That is, I would rather have people that have paid me, even if it was a little bit, $7, $17. I'd rather be able to turn around to them and help and sell to them because they've proven that they're willing to invest. So yeah, don't just run ads to your freebies, but you could run ads to other things too with major discounts. Number 4, pitching to podcasts, cold pitching. The podcast industry is continuing to explode. And among weekly listeners, those of us who love a good podcast every week, we listen to more than one. Click like. Anybody else? My tip here, don't be afraid to pitch yourself. Word of mouth is so strong. I have an entire video where I talk about how to craft a pitch. And after being on, I don't even know how many podcasts, here's my biggest tip for growing your list on a podcast. Follow the lead of the host. I don't have some crazy strategy when I go onto a podcast to be interviewed about the exact freebie that I'm gonna have just for this audience. You could do that. I probably have done that once or twice over the years to try to figure out where people did come from and UTM it. Honestly, I'm busy. I just focus a heck of a lot more on delivering solid content on a podcast. Be real, give advice that makes you a little bit sweaty to share because you're like, I am giving the goods like for free on this. That has resulted to me in better word of mouth because that makes the kind of podcast people like sharing. You have to listen to this, it was so good. Instead of worrying about trying to pitch them into some funnel. My 2 cents. Another tip when it comes to podcasts, think in advance. Just like how in magazine world they're working on their Christmas gift guide back in July, a bulk of podcasters are working ahead of the curve too. I have 2 tactics to help you get this out. 1, go on a pitch spree. Make a list of about 50 different podcasts or relationships or blogs that you could guest on, and every Monday for 1 month, pitch 5 of them. I have told this to students inside the Copy Bar Collective. It is a great challenge and a great exercise because you're gonna get used to hearing no or hearing crickets, and that's what it takes. Again, watch that video I did where I talk a little bit more about pitching, but here's my second tip. I recently learned this on a call with my friend Selena Sue. I said, Selena, how do you pitch all the time? I'm doing all sorts of things in my business. How do you make it a priority every week? She was like, whoa, I don't. I do this pretty much 2 big times a year and it's before a launch. That changed the way I think about it. So instead of having to worry about keeping this a practice that I'm doing every week or every month in my business, what if I have 2 big chunks in the year before quarterly champagne campaigns that are coming down the pipeline and I focus on pitching heavy before that? That seemed a lot easier. I'm probably gonna try that next year. And number 5, last but not least, SEO. I am always amazed during our weekly level 10 meetings when Meg, who is our director of marketing, shows us how much traffic comes in from SEO. This is why that's important. Inside Prime to Launch, I mentioned that Warren Buffett quote about someone sitting under the shade of a tree because somebody else planted it years ago. That's the power of SEO. That's the power of planting good, solid, meaty little evergreen trees in your business. If not 52 weeks out of the year, what if you do 6 before your 4 big launches? Then that's working overtime. Here's a little bit of how I do the legwork, deciding what words I want to rank for. I use Yoast as a plugin inside our WordPress to make sure that I like this and it's got the green light. I'll link below the video I did where I talk about how to make sure your content is good and is gonna rank in SEO. There you have it. There's 5 ways to grow your list before a launch. And you may be feeling a little overwhelmed, and I get it, launches are a lot. So if that's you and I can help you take the overall pre-launch and launch planning off your plate, I'd love for you to check out Prime to Launch so I can hand over all my launch planning tools and my launch planning process. You're gonna see how I come up with content ideas before a launch, how I do the math, how I tell clients to do the math, how to take each week of hero content and break it out to disseminate on various channels, how to set goals for your launch, and more. Check it all out in the link below or primetolaunch.com. If you liked this video, let me know by clicking the like button, subscribe for more content like this, comment below with any questions that you may have. Now you know how to grow your email list before pre-launch. But pause, did you test this idea? Do you know if it's a good one? Be sure to check out the next video I have for you where I'm walking through how I validate an offer. So if I have something I think, I should launch this, this is pretty cool. Before I do that, I always go through this process. You can see it in the next video. And here's to working from a place of more rest, less hustle. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.